This new moon coming up, I think it's probably the most dynamic one of the whole year. My name's Irlianna, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundastrology.com. I do traditional Hellenistic astrology blended with contemporary Western tropical astrology. I am really excited to tell you all about this new moon, why this new moon is one of the most powerful of the year with long-lasting effects, what signs will feel it the most, one really loud message for the USA chart. We'll finish off with where does this new moon land in your chart. Welcome new subscribers. Really appreciate all your comments, shares. Please do continue to like, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel, which basically means it helps the whole world because we're here to just spread this light everywhere. The light of astrology, the light of this ancient wisdom that can bless and uplift and transform our lives. I invite you to join my email list, Irlianna@StarSoundAstrology.com. Link is below. And there's some sales and specials that I'll be announcing and some really, really cool things I'm not ready to talk about yet, but I've got this massive creative project in progress, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. I think you're going to love it. If you haven't seen Andrea Michelle talking about the nodal shift into Aries and Libra, please do. It's phenomenal. You know, she's just always incredible, vintage Andrea, beautiful pearls of wisdom that we can really just meditate on and carry with us. You know, a nodal shift lasts for 1.5 years. Really important that we have the best empowerment. Ari Moshe Wolf, another fantastic conversation there. Our next guest, Alex Trenoweth. She's an author of Mirror, Mirror and Growing Pains, Astrology in Adolescence. And Dan Waits from World Astrology Report. Mundane astrology, if you're not familiar with that term, it means the astrology of countries and nations. One of my favorite things to do besides eat one too many really good chocolate bars. It's a toss-up between Dr. Bronner's coconut praline magic bar and mundane astrology. I don't want to go there. Can't wait for Venus. Jupiter needs to go retrograde so I can stop eating so much chocolate. Back to this podcast. 24 degrees, 56 minutes of Cancer. The moon is in domicile, can really get its job done the best. So a few things about this. If you have planets at 21 to 27 degrees of Cancer, Capricorn, Libra, or Aries, you're going to really feel this one. It's very potent. If you have the cardinal signs, it's going to be angular. So if you have Cancer rising, Capricorn rising, Libra rising, or Aries rising, this new moon is going to be angular for you. So anytime you have angular houses, 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th house, they speak with a megaphone, really points of change, very dynamic. For the fixed signs, it's going to be cadent. So that would indicate that something's ending, something's concluding. So this new beginning has a lot, it speaks to beginnings that come out of things ending. I don't know how to say it more easily, right? It's just as things come to a completion and a new thing begins. Cadent houses are the 3rd house, the 6th house, the 9th house, and the 12th house. That's for the fixed signs. And then for the mutable signs, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, those signs rising, this is going to be in a succeedant house. So this speaks to support. It's a new place to reset, dynamic new beginnings, and where it involves support, being supported. Who do we support? How are we supported? What kind of finances and resources support us? And the people who support us as well. So this new moon, Jupiter is going to be the bound ruler, is bound and exaltation ruler. So this new moon is playing by Jupiter's rules. This speaks to wisdom that is grounded in what is practical. It speaks to tenacity and resilience as we begin this new process together. Of course, Cancer rules the home and the homeland, families, emotions, vulnerability, nurturing, healing, memory, the memory of our home, our true home, our homeland, what we call home. All of these things are dynamically being changed up. This energy will have resonance for many, many months to come. North node in Taurus, South node in Scorpio. And so this is the final moment of our 1.5 year journey through the North node and South node in Taurus and Scorpio. This is about remembering the lessons from the past 18 months. What kind of lessons have we learned? Can we take the lessons and the insights that we've learned and the wisdom that we've garnered and we move it forward. So it's really 0 degrees is a critical degree, and it represents the whole potentiality, all the potential of what these eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio have brought us. This is very much packed into and part of this new moon in Cancer, remembering those lessons, bringing them forward. There are 4 really big things that are going on here, which makes this an extremely potent new moon. The first thing is that the nodes shift 90 minutes after the new moon. 90 minutes. It's right on that teeter-tottering edge, right? Going into cardinal signs. Cardinal signs are always about initiation, about a new beginning, carving a new path. So we've got this grand cross here, as you can see here, all 4. It becomes a grand cardinal cross, 90 minutes, 90 minutes into that. Talk about dynamic, talk about things that have to come to the surface, power struggles. This is something that's marking this epic power struggles from the within to the without, not just in the collective. We, of course, see that reflected, but it's really what's going on inside of us, and what is going to take, the word that's coming to me is dominion. Where are we sovereign? Where are we in our dominion? Are we in our dominion? This is an incredibly powerful opportunity to look and see. Do we own who we are? Are we fully present to the potential for transformation that each one of us can bring to this planet? With the new moon being in Cancer, this to me speaks with that square with Pluto. This is really like the end of an era. It feels like the end of an era. As I was writing my notes, it was just flowing out of me. It was an interesting process to just listening to that inner voice, listening to the intuition, honoring that, coming from that rather than the head, coming from the heart, coming from the emotions. Grand Cardinal Square, the end of an era. This is about a new paradigm emerging that is based on vulnerability, authenticity, home, family, nurturing, healing. All of that's coming online now. We all know it's been bubbling for quite some time, but this is definitely some major birth pangs, big labor, right? There's always that intense emotion and cathartic release. So the emotional discoveries, think of like the skin of a snake, shedding the skins of the past where we've been held back, especially around like a toxic male patriarchy. The high end of male energy is protection and support, but the toxic part, which has been so rampant amongst all world cultures for centuries, is this patriarchal repression of the feminine, the divine feminine. So here we have this new moon, 24 degrees of Cancer. So we can build newly. We have to know and we have to experience and go through these birth pangs, but knowing that that is just the shaking off of things that no longer work. So if things are going to be dynamically leaving your life soon, and they are going to be, and I'll tell you at the end, where in your chart where this will be occurring, but these are the areas that are ripe for transformation wherever this new moon occurs in your chart, so that we can build newly. I often think with Pluto being back in Capricorn, Saturn's domicile, Saturn rules the teeth. So if you think about the analogy of a baby tooth, and you remember how when that baby tooth started the new tooth was pushing up and it was painful and it hurt, and we tell our mother, and then, it was hard to eat because it was higher than the other teeth. So you bite on something and it'd be like, oh, it hurts so much. And then finally it just gets so out of its, hanging on by a thread. And it's like, my mom, she'd be like, here, let me just pull it for you. I'm like, no, it hurts. It just hurts enough. And I don't want any more pain. But it was this little thread. But once you go through that, then it's like, oh, you're free and clear. And then you put salt water on and you start to heal. So this is very much similar to what we're all going through on the planet now. Global warming. What was the hottest day on record for the whole planet the other day? You've got these migrants in boats and capsizing and just extreme weather, extreme drought, extreme floods. Vermont flooded like nobody's business. This is Mother Earth in her birth pangs. This is, my teacher used to tell us that weather is consciousness. So we are seeing all this extreme weather, it's this rise and this birth of this new consciousness that's physically reflected in the way of the weather. So we have this feminine energy coming forth. Pluto is saying, look, you cannot evolve unless you involve the feminine, the Cancerian archetype, the nurturer, the kind nurturer, the heart-centered, to allow our authenticity and vulnerability where we have never, ever felt. And it's going to take time, just like the tooth that came out. It takes time to heal. That gum is not perfect overnight. You got that salt water assuaging the soreness and the tenderness, but that constant care, it'll help heal. And what comes out of that is a tooth that lasts forever. It's a resilience. It's going to last you, hopefully, if you don't drink too much, Mountain Dew or any, it'll last you the rest of your life if you take care of it. So the baby tooth was good and useful and essential and necessary for a long time. But then there comes a time where that falls away, as everything must. So this new moon really speaks to that strongly. And I'd also say, too, it's like this shift from the external, Pluto and Capricorn. It's like, look, the power structure and the power players on the external and the power, who we are ourselves as being in dominion, there's a shift from external to internal authority. So we're not looking outside of ourselves for things and outside structures to save us or provide. We have to come back to ourselves. I think of the Hopi that said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. And truly, now is the time. I also think of that image from The Matrix, Agent Smith. The two cohorts are after him and they're trying to kill him. And remember, in the middle of the movie, when he first met them, he had a lot of prowess and a lot of ability, and he would be bending backwards. Remember those scenes, and the bullets are flying by, and he can evade them all. He knows how to evade. But there was this shift to, okay, that way of being can just take you so far. And now you have to move to another paradigm. And that's what this new moon is. It's showing us this. So Neo in The Matrix, if you remember that scene, sorry, spoiler alert, but look, it's been around 25 years. When that scene when Agent Smith shoots him and you see this bullet in slow-mo and Neo's not bending anymore. He's just standing there and he's like, okay, like he can be with it. And then he's fully in his power. And so this bullet comes and it just stops. It's like it's not going to go through him. He sees it for what it is, and then it drops. So this is what's available to us, this ability to see and to understand these things newly in a way where we're not in reaction, bending backwards with bullets. We're actually saying, wait a minute, I'm bigger than this bullet. This is something outside of me. And when he fully came into his power, of course, Agent Smith fled, right? You never saw him again. So lots to think about. A couple of other things. The new moon is trining Neptune. So that's enough about Pluto, right? You've had enough. All right, Pluto, get off the stage. I got to talk about Neptune. All right, Neptune's at 27 degrees of Pisces, conjunct Sheet. It's a major fixed star. It's a star that often represents a lot of hardship. It's like being in a war zone, like a journalist that has to cover a war zone and write about it. It's very difficult situations. And so, yes, certainly we can see ourselves in difficult situations with everything that's been going on with Earth changes, oceans rising, right? Neptune rules Pisces, rules the oceans. The new moon trining there's a lot, it's an overcoming trine to the new moon, Neptune and Pisces overcoming Cancer. And so that to me would be, think about letting art lead the way, using art, being creatively inspired, allowing our emotions, maybe art therapy be a great, great thing to do to help us in a healing process, to help us connect with our vulnerability, being unconditionally loving and forgiving, dissolving the old dysfunctional structures of reality and society that have deluded us for far too long. We're seeing this long, slow collapse, but it's a good thing. Like I said, that baby tooth has to go. So the new moon trining Neptune, giving us this opportunity to connect with these beautiful liminal realms, mystical realms, transcendent realms, and infuse that into our new reality about loving and caring and taking care of each other. As Ram Dass used to say, let's walk each other home. This is a perfect new moon for that. As this is all going on, we've got one corner, the Pluto square the nodes. Then we got the new moon trining Neptune. Then we've got Saturn in opposition with Mars. And that is exact on July 20th. Desire to be controlling and analyzing and breaking everything down can be almost too much. The need for discernment, but also the need to be kind and forgiving, to not be led by delusion or illusion. Saturn there, Saturn representing long-term thinking. So I would say doing actions for this new moon, actions and goals that are aligned with a long-term view of things. Lovely saying, do something your future self will thank you for. This new moon is about that. Mars can be very impulsive. It's like, chill, man. Got to think long-term. Strike a balance with faith and trying to control every little detail. Easier said than done. I lived in New York City for how many years? 17 years, going to school there, having a career in Madison Avenue. Talk to me about control. Oh my God, please. All right, I'm still working on it. Okay, Venus. Venus is about to go retrograde. So that's the other interesting last part of this. Venus, ruler of the South Node, right? Now she was the ruler of the North Node, and then 90 minutes later, she changes roles. Now she's the ruler of the South Node on the retrograde point. So this is so incredibly potent. She's going to be going into the underworld from July 22nd to September 3rd. If you haven't seen Michael Bartlett and I chatting this up, I invite you to see it or listen to it again. And he's so much fun too. You not only learn, but we just have a blast. Venus, being the ruler of the South Node in Libra, we have to be willing to give up having to be a people pleaser. Drop the nicey nice, where you're feeling like you're a doormat, or the need to worry about what other people think. I'm really looking forward to this, let me tell you. It's just my whole life I've dealt with. June Cleaver, drop the nicey nice. This is going to take us on a journey. She's going in the underworld. We're going to discover things about ourselves, about our authentic selves. It's in Leo, so it's like the shining divine light being that we really are, our true authentic selves, where surface glamour and shallowness, which are very South Node Libra, right? This is about where we often escape to being shallow as a way of barring ourselves from being intimate with someone. We just stay on the surface. So this is an initiation into where do we do that unconsciously, and whatever area Venus is going retrograde in your chart is where it's going to give its blessings. It's going to show us what's it take to be courageous, to be our true authentic selves. So we're going to find out. Uranus in that sextile is inviting us to step into new ways of defining family. What is family? What does family mean to us? What does it mean to be nurtured or to nurture others? And that there are new dynamic ways that are asking to be embraced. Shedding old ways, maybe old ways that might have been traumatic for us. With Uranus has to do with catastrophe and trauma, and maybe there's some embodied trauma that needs to be released. And as we nurture ourselves, all of this incredible healing can start taking place on an even deeper level. This is also, it speaks to new ways of defining what is security. Coming from the future, not coming from old, outmoded thinking, but what does it really mean to be secure? What does it mean to be comfortable? What does it mean to be vulnerable? I think about the people in housing crises, skyrocketing rents that have been going on for several years now, getting more and more and more outrageous. And where is the breaking point of that? I also think about migrant families all over the world. People are dealing with huge influxes of migrants. Here's an example, building up Grand Cardinal Square. The Dutch Prime Minister resigned. He could not come up with a plan to deal with migration, immigrants that are coming into the Netherlands. Hopefully we'll see a resolution to this. The old ways of separating, oh, you're in this country and I'm in this country. We're all in this together. So really coming into this radically new way of thinking and being, designing our society along these more humanitarian guidelines. the new moon through the houses. So I'm going to take you on that little trip. But before I wrap this up, I will say that I loved this particular Chandra symbol, just like a tarot symbol, for 25 degrees of Cancer. Chandra symbol by Elias Lonsdale, a flock of penguins on an icy beach. So I'd like to just read you this paragraph, perfectly aligned with this dynamic new moon. Inward purpose draws to itself an invisible community of those who are dedicated to the far places together. Your subtle support system recognizes acutely that you are bearing gifts of a high and free kind and attempting to bring these through in just the right way. A guiding stream accompanies your very life pulse and steers you towards staying faithful and not pushing too hard, too fast. A timeless, future-infused sphere, vast and expansive and truly unlimited. Become the personification of this otherness by being inwardly there within it and outwardly silent and poised and cool. There shall be chances, opportunities, ritual occasions for bringing the greater worlds to bear upon the basic shared life stream. And at all other times, preparation and ripening are in order to be perfectly ready when called upon, clear, steady, and super true. We'll complete our little chat today with the new moon in the houses. If you are a Scorpio rising, your new moon is going to be happening in the 9th house. So the 9th house rules foreign travel, occult wisdom, spirituality, philosophy, the law, justice. Maybe it's about pursuing higher wisdom or one's truth. Sag rising, the new moon is going to be in your 8th house. So that is on the support axis. That's about what and who supports us and how we're supported, how we're not supported, resources, money, finances, investors, the resources of other people, maybe calling them power dynamics that need to be shaken up and a new direction taken regarding support. For Cap rising, it's going to be 7th house, angular. It's an angular, so it's a very important time. 7th house is the people who we collaborate with, the people we're married to or in long-term relationships with, the people that we partner with business partner or one-to-one, like a therapist and her client. So new beginnings in that area. For Aquarius rising, it's going to be in your 6th house. And that is a house that represents, it's a lot of work, effort. It can be almost where we feel overworked or not appreciated. So maybe there's this new beginning where we can start learning to take care of ourselves, like seriously. And it's our physical health too, where our diet and nutrition and all, where we can make a huge about self-care, workplace, diet, nutrition. The 5th house would be Pisces rising. This new moon will be in your 5th house. And again, it's support axis. So the support of your children, your family, your creative projects, inspiring you and supporting you. The opposite house being the 11th, so friends. So it's the support axis. Your children or your creative projects, all of that being where this new moon is going to land is where these themes will be highlighted. Aries rising, you've got this in the 4th house, angular, your family, your roots, your family roots, genealogy, your literal home as well, your physical home, your real estate and holdings. So there could be new beginnings along those ways, things that need to be shaken loose in order to move forward and create a new, powerful, resilient structure. Taurus, your new moon is in the 3rd house, and that is about learning, networking, sharing, cousins, siblings, in-laws, pursuing learning, especially at an earlier stage, say grammar school through high school, going back to school, maybe learning something where you can get your hands dirty, you explore with curiosity, some dynamic new approaches and new openings occurring there. Gemini rising, 2nd house of personal finances, personal possessions, and support. the things that you find important to you. And then Cancer rising, it is in your first house, which is, of course, again, an angular house. So this is a major new direction for all you Cancer risings. Obviously, it's the Cancer new moon, and it's angular. So that would be very, very exciting for you folks. First house is your personality, how you show up to the world, how people see you, your physical body. So there's all these new ways of maybe taking care of your body, discarding old concepts about, denial and such, and allowing yourself to, would that feel like if you were to care for yourself as well as you would care for your dear friend. 12th house is for Leo rising. So this is going to be in your house. It's a very mystical house. It also can represent feeling shipwrecked, is my favorite word to describe from my nightlight classes. It's indelibly marked in my mind. But feeling at a loss, it can represent loss and sacrifice, but there's some very good things about the 12th house too, where we're in solitude, where we're devoted, where things that we have maybe long felt difficult with, we could find peace with. And how does that peace occur? Through the Cancerian, the moon, the loving self, loving one's self, nurturing and caring for ourselves, tuning in very deeply. Great place to meditate and tune into our emotions and our intuition and the inner planes. For you Virgo risings, this is going to be in your 11th house, which is friends, cohorts, colleagues, professional colleagues, groups, and organizations. So you'll see some new beginnings in that area. Libra rising will be in your 10th house, again, an angular house, and that's career, public image, public reputation, out to achieve great things, some new beginnings in the way in which you do your thing in the world. I hope you have gotten some value out of that. That's all I've got for you today, and I hope you've enjoyed. Shoot me an email for being on the list, and I'll be announcing some fun stuff very shortly. Irlianna at StarSoundAstrology.com. And I thank you all so very much for listening and also for sharing this information if you found it useful. So much love to you, and have a fantastic new moon in Cancer. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundAstrology.com. Namaste.